It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer, and today we have a beer that's based on Back to the Future. What a great film that was. I watched a documentary recently about Michael J. Fox, and he talked about making this movie, and he was part of another very famous American TV series, which he had to fight tooth and nail to get on in the first place. His Hollywood career was all about kind of hard work, dedication, and then when he made it, boy didn't he make it in a big way. It was a really good documentary, and then it talks about his illness, his Parkinson's, and the man's fight, the man's ability. See, from over here in the UK, from my perspective, like, I didn't really see Michael J. Fox after kind of like, probably, we see a lot of the movies, but we don't necessarily see a lot of the kind of TV series that the man made. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. This is called Hop Capacitor. Remember the old Flux Capacitor? Remember him in his white suit with his hair? The Flux Capacitor! That was the answer to going back in time. And it was just a few flashy lights on this little strobe thing. What a brilliant film. Brilliant film. US Pale Ale, 4% ABV. That's a look at it. Vale of Glamorgan Brewery in Barry. Where I'm from, the brewery's about a mile that way. Right, let's get the beer out into a glass and see what we get. I suppose it's a little bit cheeky. They've done a Batman beer. They've done a Back to the Future beer. They've got another beer that I'm about to do very shortly called Cheers. Remember the TV series Cheers? I never watched it, but I heard about it. It was based in a pub, not a coffee shop. Gotta love the 80s, haven't you? 3 finger white head. Good levels of carbonation. There is etching in the bottom of this glass that's going to create a little bit of rigorous carbonation. Hazy, straw coloured. It looks very good, doesn't it? It looks very good. Let's get the aroma. Oh, and that's hoppy. That's a real hoppy beer. Like your Simcoe and Citras. That sort of thing. It smells really, really good. Lemon, lime, grapefruit, orange peel, fleshy blood orange. A little bit of spicy pepperiness coming through from the hops in the beer. A little bit of sweet malt. Yeah, it smells good. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. And it's okay. What I found with a lot of their beers, they're quite spritz-like. They have the mouthfeel of a glass of Prosecco. They're really quite highly carbonated beers. And I found that from a lot of their beers. And I'm just wondering if that's the way that they brew their beer, whether they brew it with this kind of high levels of carbonation. Whether they just prefer their beers to be like that. On a personal note, I would normally prefer my beers to be a little bit calmer, a little bit less rigorous with the carbonation. What you find with beers with a lot of carbonation is you're doing a lot of burping, you're doing a lot of kind of like brr, brr. And I prefer it just to be a little bit lower, a little bit smoother, a little bit creamier maybe. you get this from a lot of breweries in the UK. You do get this kind of, like, and I mean this with the greatest of respects, you get this from the smaller micro breweries that are kind of like 1 or 2 man bands, working their nuts off, working really hard. I got the greatest of respects for these people, and that's why I'm being slightly careful in this reviewing, as to not kind of like poo-poo the beer too much. But it's almost like it's a level up from homebrew. You could almost taste that kind of like that homebrew. It's like a homebrewer brewing on a big kit, going from the kitchen where he's making great beer to like moving his way up to a big kit, and maybe because they've recently purchased the brewery from the Knife and Fork group. It's a new purchase. The brewery has changed hands. Maybe they just need a little bit of time just to really get into their groove and really get into understanding their equipment and kind of working with it. It's a good beer. It's a good beer. That's the kind of like, that's the level where they're at. It's not like a Verdant though, or a Cloudwater, or a Polly's beer. It's that pillowy head. You've probably seen that a million times before. Hoppy, drinkable, refreshing, pretty decent beer. Just a little bit over-carbonated. So I'm going to rate it, and then we'll kind of quickly cover that whole Michael J. Fox thing I started talking about earlier on. I like it enough to give it a 7 out of 10. It's a 7 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Perfectly drinkable. If I was that way, if I was down towards the brewery in the summer, I would quite happily sit in the brew pub thing they got going on and have a few pints of their beer. It's drinkable, it's pretty decent. So Michael J. Fox, this documentary that he made, he was hiding his Parkinson's for quite a long time. He really was. He'd have something in his hand. It was one of his hands that was moving, wasn't it, early on? And he would have, to rectify it, he would just like have anything in his hand. And by having something in his hand, he was able to like he would walk down doing a shot, walking down the corridor, and he'd be holding a book or something, or he'd always have something in his, whether it was his right or left hand. And he was able to kind of push it all away for a long time. Brilliant. And I think he's still getting up on stage now. He's still doing some kind of surprise appearances now. Or big, energetic type person. So when he filmed Back to the Future, nobody knew how much of a big hit it was going to be. He was going from his day job, if you like, his kind of bread and butter weekly show that he was very popular on, to going and filming all in the night for Back to the Future. And then of course that launched, massive success, and the guy was huge after that, wasn't he? Massive 1980s, early 1990s, Michael J. Fox. Well, everybody still knows him now, don't he? So yeah, thanks for watching the video beer review. Hop Capacitor. What was his name? What was his name, the mad scientist? His real name in real life. He was a great actor as well. Thanks for watching. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.